Hello and welcome to episode 19 of the Spotlight Games podcast. I don't know what that voice was. I'm Patrick, and I'm joined, as always, by Cayman. Cayman, how are you, sir?
Patrick, I'm doing fantastic. I am beyond excited about this episode. There's so much shit to talk about. And once
Oh,
again, I want to hear straight from your mouth. Was I right, Patrick?
you were right. I do want the record to reflect this is not one that I disagreed about, so I feel like it doesn't carry as much weight because I wasn't like, you're an idiot. But it is still, you are correct. I cannot say that you are not correct. And we're going to get to why he was correct. We have a ton to talk about. A lot of video game things to talk about because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we're going to talk to you about the latest and greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel or by subscribing to your favorite podcast app, excuse me. And hey, while you're there, why don't you give us a rating, give us a review on that podcast app of your choice. 5 stars. If it's anything less than 5 stars, tell me why. We can make it better. And then we can just skip 5 stars. So everyone's like, wow, that's a 5-star show. Don't forget, you can be on the show by emailing us your thoughts and questions to mail@spotlightgames.net, or you can DM us on Twitter @SpotGamesPod or on Instagram @SpotlightGamesPodcast. I must stop here to say that our newest episode of Save Trash Cinema is live this week. As of release of this episode, it's the 3rd episode of the Save Trash Cinema podcast, hosted by our very own beefy boy Cayman Darty. And this one, I'm biased, but I think it's by far our best episode yet. I think My Bloody Valentine, which is the movie we were dissecting, was a treat, and I think you should go listen to all the things that we talk about there because it was a bloody good time, Cayman.
It was a fantastic episode, full of laughs, full of wonderful commentary. And I agree with Patrick. I objectively think it is best episode to date. We're really getting there, guys, and I just want everyone to listen. So if you've got time, it's a great episode. It'll put a smile on your face, and I would like to add, perfect Valentine's Day episode to listen to by yourself if you're single, or with your significant other if you aren't single. So
if you are single, why don't you just pretend while listening that the 3 of us on the show are your significant other, and it's like
we can do that.
We're having a date night together. We also, on that feed, something you did came in. We released a little trailer for Save Trash Cinema as well to kind of essentially highlight what the show is and what it's about and why we're doing it. So if us just talking about it isn't enough for you, go give the trailer a listen and see what you think, and go subscribe to that feed as well. Cayman, we have a great show this week. We're going to be talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus again. We've both been playing that. That's what we are going to start the show with. I've been playing Sifu on PS5, so I'm going to give I think what is a pretty full review. I haven't beaten it yet. We'll get to it. Another new video game came out, Dying Light 2. We'll do a quick review roundup. But it ended not 20 minutes ago as of recording. Nintendo had a new Nintendo Direct, and there is a bunch to talk about. So why don't we start the show? Let's start with what we've been playing, which, has been Arceus and then me, Sifu. But Cayman, give us your updated thoughts. How much more have you put into Arceus? Where are you at? How's your Pokédex looking? Let's talk about it.
I am now 30 hours into Arceus. My Pokédex is roughly at about 160 to 165. Nice. I am going through. I'm collecting them all, as Ash Ketchum would say. I am becoming the very best. Not something that spoke about it. I wasn't feeling the story. I feel better about the story now that the game is over. I feel like they really tied it all together at the end. They really set up a lot, and they really played on the future game. So they really played into Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. They set that up really nice. I think the story Pokemon still struggles with that. I think that they need to work on it. I don't think it detracts ultimately from the experience itself, but I will say, now having so much time in the game, I've beaten the story. I'm working on post-game content, which is, obviously no spoilers, but there is post-game content like most other Pokemon games. And I'm working on completing my Pokédex. The game just gets better every hour you put in. You unlock new Pokemon, you unlock rare Pokemon. It really pushes you to play with new Pokemon that you normally wouldn't. So, for instance, right now in my lineup, I have a fucking Togepi. which I would
Oh
never
yeah.
in my life ever have Togepi, but I'm trying to get that evolution so that I can finish my Pokédex, which is incredible that like a
Yeah.
Pokemon game. This is the first one in years that I've actually, after the game ended, I'm focusing on a Pokédex again.
Yeah.
Like this is really cool. But no, I love it, man. I really like the game. I think I would say easily, and this is a solid point taken off for the story, easily a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
It's just it's easy. It's the best Pokemon we've gotten in an incredibly long time, and whatever they're gonna come out with next, I would probably assume that we're gonna see like we'll probably see Gold and Silver getting like
Mm,
a retro remake. But I hope they continue to make games like Legends Arceus because
me
it's
too.
really fucking good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like I last week, I was positive on it, but I didn't love it nearly as much as you did. But since then, I've put in another like 25 hours, and I haven't caught as many Pokemon as you have, but I have like 110 of those Pokemon that I've caught with completed Pokédex entries. So I've been really focusing on like
Yeah.
uh, getting them to level 10 in the Pokédex so that they're considered complete. Um, yeah, I would definitely say like 8 or 9 out of 10 for me as well. I would probably land on the 8 myself, just because yeah, I like thinking back. The story I felt was so non-existent for me
Mm.
that I ended up just furiously tapping A. I mean, it was almost like playing the game whenever there was dialogue. It was like I was playing a Mario Party mini game, just like tapping A as fast as I could. But now that that's over with, and it's just completing my Pokédex and finishing all the rest of like the side quests.
Mhm.
I like whenever at night, when I'm not playing Sifu, when we're watching TV, I'm just like checking all the boxes and I am having a great time with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I only like this is the first time in a Pokemon game I've ever wanted to try to complete a Pokédex. And like I really, unless like the game's coming out later this month really just like pull me away, I really expect that I will be playing this for at least several more weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That fills me with such joy to hear you
Yeah.
say that
Yeah.
because I know you're not as big on Pokemon as I
Yeah,
am.
for sure.
And to see that, and I think this is another testament that goes to show if you are on the fence, if you are a person who never got into Pokemon or haven't really enjoyed the last few games that have come out, this is a perfect time to get back in.
I agree.
Patrick is a great example of that. So I love that. I think that's wonderful. And I can't wait for future generations to be able to enjoy Pokemon in a
Yeah.
new way. Like it's just great. It's just awesome. Super nice.
Unequivocally, Spotlight Games recommends Pokemon Legends Arceus, so go pick it up if you're interested. Well, Cayman, why don't we transition into? I'm going to talk more about Sifu later. Why don't we transition into the first topic of the show, which will probably be a beefy one because Nintendo
Oh,
just had a Nintendo Direct, and goodness gracious, was it full of announcements? Cayman,
oh,
yeah,
oh.
yeah.
I just have to say to the audience, the whole time Patrick and I were texting back and forth, we're like, oh gosh, did you see
Oh
this?
my
Or like,
god!
what do you
Oh my
think's gonna
god!
be coming next? And then we went through a stretch of like 10 to 15 minutes where all we said was holy shit and fuck, just back and forth.
Yeah, right.
Just because it got
Yeah.
real,
All
real
caps.
bad.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Let's
Holy
fucking
crap.
go.
This direct, what felt like what would have been Nintendo's E3 presentation if we were to ever get E3 again.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there were a
Huge.
couple, I think, missing pieces, but ultimately there were so many great announcements that I don't hold them like I don't hold it as a negative per se. It would have been like god tier if they had also mentioned things like Breath of the Wild 2, or
Mhm,
I was really hoping we'd get an announcement of the Wind Waker remake, reboot,
mhm.
whatever, remake, port.
Remaster, yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't. But so we're gonna go through the announcements. We'll let's just stop when there's one we want to chat about. So first off, the show opened with a Fire Emblem Warriors game, a la Hyrule Warriors, based on Three Houses. It's which is the most recent Fire Emblem game. Not a game for me, but
Yeah. Did you ever play Three Houses?
I started Three Houses. I got it on
Mm,
sale a couple months ago. It was on sale at GameStop for like $15 or something, and I think I will revisit it. It just wasn't. It didn't draw me in. I only put in probably 30 minutes. I need to go back and give it another shot.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
just doesn't strike me as a game that I would enjoy playing, so
Yeah,
I haven't
I don't
really.
think it. Yeah. After that, we did, or they showed us the Advanced One and Tours Reboot Camp, which is a remake of Advanced Wars 1 and 2. And I don't remember know if this was an updated release date, or like an official delay or whatever. I think it had already been delayed. Maybe we just didn't have a release date, but it is now coming April 8th. Which it's a tactical RPG.
Yeah.
Similar to Fire Emblem. After that, we got No Man's Sky coming to Switch, which is coming this summer. Which it's great. And then all the all the bets were off at this point,
Oh boy.
because after this, Super Mario Strikers was announced as coming back, and this is what we were so coyfully referring to at the very top of the show, because this was one of, and back in our predictions episode, this was one of Cayman's predictions for this year. So he'll get a point for that. It is coming, and it's coming really soon. It's coming on June 10th.
Crazy.
And it looks so good. It's up to 8 players locally and online, 5v5 soccer, in the Mario Striker style. Cayman, where are your thoughts?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So when I made that prediction, I was like, I feel like Mario's getting, at least on the Switch, the Mario games like tennis and golf, we're getting a resurgence. We hadn't really seen much of that. I think we'd had Strikers on the Wii, and then they got ported to the Wii U, but we didn't really have a tennis game that, and like since the Wii U is just a shit show as is. So I think Nintendo just gave up on the Wii, but with the Switch, they're finding a lot more. Well, they're finding success in levels that Nintendo hasn't seen in a very long time.
For sure.
And so I really felt like I was like, look, what's a perfect game for Nintendo to drop? Because I don't think we're going to get a new Mario, like a proper Mario title. But to keep things fresh and to keep things going, like Mario Strikers, perfect fit. Holy shit, we are indeed getting it. We're getting it in June. This is absolutely crazy. It looks incredible. They're throwing
so
in
good.
an incredible, like these new features where you can get equipment and then you can like customize your play style by using new equipment, and it changes what your character looks. So it's like hitting all those, checking all those boxes.
It looks
for
deep.
me. It does. It looks deep in a way that like I don't think we've seen like a Mario sports title look
Right.
outside of like Mario Kart, which I don't really consider Mario Kart to be like a sports title.
Sure.
More of a flagship. But this looks incredible.
Yeah.
I am so excited for this. This is insane.
Yeah.
This, and the thing is it only gets better from here. Like obviously this is one of the highlights, but the direct was just nuts.
I can't wait.
And so boom, I'm up here, bro.
Yeah.
I'm riding high in the clouds. I think that this is great. It's just another reason, if you don't have a Switch, get a fucking Switch, guys. I know well, if you have the money to get a Switch, but
sure.
Like if you haven't upgraded and you haven't gotten a Switch yet, or if you're on the fence about getting a Switch, you got shit like Pokemon. You've got Strikers coming.
Right.
Like, oh man, come on. This is incredible. This is awesome.
Let's
Beautiful.
go. Let's go.
Go.
After that, Splatoon 3, they showed off like the co-op mode, which is like one of the worst titles I've ever heard.
Oh,
Splatoon 3 Salmon Run Next Wave, which just has like the worst cohesion of a title I've maybe ever read.
Sounds like a parody of a Kingdom Hearts game.
It really does. All it needed was like Splatoon 3.2 to be.
Look, look,
it looks fun though.
This is look, Splatoon. Wouldn't you play Splatoon if you've never played it before? It's a fun game. It lacked, I think, the story was a huge miss for them.
Yeah,
them now adding a story and adding a co-op mode is awesome, and the name sucks. There's no selling the name. The name sucks ass.
Yeah.
However, the game looks like a ton of fun, and it's coming this year. So
yeah, I hope that this one can pull me in, because it's one of those things where like there's so many video games out there that there's just so much competition for my time and my money that I hope that this can break through, because I've never really dug a Splatoon game, so I'm hoping that this can be the one to do it. After this is one that went over my head. A game called Front Mission First, which is a remake of a game I've never heard, another tactical RPG. Looked cool, I guess. But yeah, it wasn't one that I had heard of. After this was a bit of a head scratcher, Disney Speedstorm, which is a Disney Pixar kart racer, where you
And
play
it's
as
free to play
various Pixar characters, and it's free to play, and it's coming later this year.
and cross-platform.
It was this was so that we were texting and we were like, oh, I guess we're not going to get any Mario Kart 9 news, and which technically we didn't, but we'll get to that. After this, they do this a couple times throughout the direct where they did a couple like, here's a segment we're going to show like similar things. They showed a Star Wars The Force Unleashed. They're bringing back one. Did they say 2 as well or just 1?
Didn't hear 2.
Okay,
But
that's
we
coming
know
in
for a
April.
fact we're at least getting 1.
Yeah, so that's coming in April, and I texted you. I was like, is this how bad The Force Unleashed looked? Or which maybe it did, but I remember loving that game, so I'm excited
Yeah,
to give that a shake.
I wanna replay it again.
Yeah.
My question is, I wonder if, like, is it gonna get any updated control schemes? Like, how is it gonna play?
Sure.
Is it gonna feel antiquated? Is it gonna also look antiquated?
Yeah.
That's gonna be a big question, but, like, I love the Force games. I think that's dope.
Yeah.
And if it comes in at a decent price point as well, like, there's no
Yeah.
reason not to pick it up.
Yeah, I could see this one not hitting because when it came out originally, we didn't really have a Star Wars game like that, but now we've had multiple, so maybe the
Yeah.
allure won't quite be there, but we'll see. Also coming later this year, I missed the release date on this one, but I'm assuming it's soon as well. The Assassin's Creed Ezio collection, so the 3 games where you play as Ezio is coming. A Gundam game is coming, SD Gundam Alliance. I also missed a date on that if they gave one. And then after that, kind of a big one, a remaster of Chrono Cross, The Radical Dreamers is
This
coming.
is an
to Switch.
interesting one.
Yeah, this is coming on April 7th.
I will say I want to take a step back, though. I will say that SD Gundam Alliance has this like chibi feel to it.
It
If
does.
you have never heard of Gundam, Gundam is a fantasy mech space opera. I loved Gundam as a kid. I still like, for nostalgia's sake, going back and watching some old Gundam episodes with the new like chibi art style and the way they're doing it. Like, I'm 100% in
Hell yeah.
to play a Gundam game. Like, I
Hell
think
yeah.
this is awesome. But to your point about the Chrono Cross, this is incredibly interesting. So
Yeah.
the rumor that was going around was that Blue Point, who essentially does remakes or rebuilds of games, and did most recently the Demon Souls remake for PlayStation 5. The rumor was that they were bringing back Chrono Cross in a full remake. It wasn't a remaster, it was a full remake of the game. Then this gets announced.
Right. So, like, do you think that means that the remake might not be happening, or do you think Chrono Cross is that strong of an IP that it could do twice in 1 year, one with a remake, one with a remaster?
So I feel like Chrono Trigger, yes. Chrono Trigger is an IP that you can release 1,000 different ways. Same with like Legend of Mana. Like, you can release it over and over and over again. People are gonna play it. Chrono Cross objectively is better than Chrono Trigger in terms of the gameplay, story, and everything. Like, that's just the consistent. However, it wasn't picked up as much. Like, it came out on the PlayStation 1.
Okay.
It wasn't really, it had like a different art style. Not as many people like jumped into it, but it has a huge cult following that loves the game. So when if initially the rumor came out, it was like, okay, well, if Blue Point's doing it, makes total sense. For Sony to have this as like a first party title to release also makes sense.
Yeah.
This is making me feel like it could either go both ways. Either this is evidence that there is interest in the IP and they're releasing this as kind of like they've done with Final Fantasy VII before the remake was released. And they're just drumming up excitement. And so this is just a way for them to keep that excitement going, leading in, and they're getting the name back out there. Or the rumor is completely false, and this was actually what the original like rumor was.
Yeah.
And I think it could literally, the games industry, this could go either way.
Right.
And unfortunately, I don't have any insight on this.
There is a third potential option where it's not a remake, it's like a reimagining or like a spiritual successor. Who knows? That's because the video game industry is weird. I tend to side on the side that this is what we're getting, that we're not also
and it very
getting.
Well could be.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. Only time will tell, Cayman. After this, we got a bit of a deep dive into the new Kirby game coming out on March 25th. And this game looks fucking weird. uh, they show there's this mechanic that's kind of like the hat in Mario Odyssey, where Kirby becomes or has different mouth shapes, or they showed off a car mouth, a vending mouth, a cone mouth, a scissor lift mouth, a ring mouth, a light bulb mouth, an arch mouth, a water balloon mouth. I can't say the word mouth again without jumping off a bridge, but it looks fun.
Okay, on like you said, this is striking that Mario Odyssey chord for me, and it
Yeah,
reminds me a ton of Mario Odyssey, and I
yeah,
don't think that's a bad thing in the slightest because I
same.
think Kirby needs some gimmick to latch onto. Um, the game is super fucking cute. Like it
Yeah,
just looks so goddamn cute. And I'm really like I was not excited about it. I've never been like a huge Kirby guy.
yeah,
Um, I'm really excited about this game now.
hell
Like the
yeah.
game looks super fun. Like it's super cute, looks super fun. I'm all about this now. I'm you can call me a Kirby stan. I am now a Kirby
Oh,
stan
came in
for
the
this
Kirby
game.
stand. You heard it here first, folks. I
And we got a
am.
release date.
We
And
got
we
to
got a
release it.
release
Yeah,
date.
March 25th. I'm not quite as sold. I'm not sold, but I do want to see a little bit more, and I'm sure we'll see some more. Probably not in a direct fashion, but um, this won't. As of right now, this will not be a day one purchase for me. But I'm excited to learn more about it. But yeah, I'm glad you're excited, and you're correct. It is cute as hell. It is definitely cute as hell. After this, a little swing for the fences, if I might say, Cayman.
Mm,
MLB The Show coming to Switch, and this wasn't discussed on on the direct, but apparently this year's version is going to have cross play and cross save. So like,
that's awesome.
if you have another platform, if you want to play MLB Show on the go, you can jump back in on your PlayStation or your Xbox when you're home on your big screen.
I'd
So
like
yeah,
to point out
I think it's cool. Go ahead.
during this segment, they brought was it Shuei Otana from the Angels,
Yeah,
the
I don't follow
baseball
baseball
player.
enough to remember
Yeah,
the name.
he's like a pitcher and he's like an outfielder. And he's an incredible baseball player. So they bring him
Shohei
out. He does this
Otani.
little Shohei Otani. There you go. So they bring him out. They do like his little segment, and then they do another where it has an American narrator who has this voice that's like I text Patrick, I was like, this sounds like he just smoked like 8 packs of Lucky Strikes. Like
Yes.
it's awful. Like like this is the grossest voice ever. But
Thankfully,
like
we
it's
didn't get
cool.
very much of the voice, but
Yeah.
the little that we did left a big impact on both of us. That's for sure. But yeah, I'm thrilled that MLB is coming to Switch. I'm very curious though to see how it performs because famously, uh, FIFA runs like dog shit on Switch. So
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case for the show.
I mean, I
But
guess the good news is with baseball is it's not a fast moving sport.
true, very true, very true. Um, Go Braves. The next section was a collection segment. So we got there's like a Kingdom Hearts collection with that is a cloud version coming to Switch. I don't think this was actually a new announcement. I think they had actually already
Mm,
shown this, but I could be
yeah.
misremembering.
It has a new name though. It's like
Oh,
the
that's what it was. Okay.
Master Integrum or like Integrum Masterum Collection
Ugh,
8.735 Cloud version 9
you're right. Correct.
chapter 6. I don't
Yeah.
fucking know.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done.
Uh, yeah. At some point, there will be a day. Like there's that saying, or not a saying. There's a uh, I don't know what you would call this. I've heard before people say parents there's a time when you pick up your kid for the last time and you put them down and you don't realize it. There's going to
Mm.
be a day in which we have heard about Kingdom Hearts for the last time and we just won't realize we've heard about it for the last time. And I'm looking forward to that day, Kaven.
Me too, man.
I struggle my way through that analogy, but here I am.
Don't worry. We I will say Patrick and I had this idea to do for the show where we were gonna like make each other play a series of video games in which like the other just does not want to play. And so I picked one for Patrick. This is like incredibly obscure JRPG, and I somehow ended up having to play all of the Kingdom Hearts games One day that's actually going to come to fruition. I have them on my console ready to go.
Hey,
I just haven't yet. We haven't gotten to the point to do it for the show, so I'm
yeah.
like just not gonna do it until then. But
When we get
when that
through
moment happens,
when we
fuck,
get through an incredibly busy 2022 of review season with video games, we will
good
be
lord.
torturing each other with these weird titles.
Well, good news is apparently the summer is now slap fucking full,
That's true.
and so maybe I'll never have to play Kingdom
Hey,
Hearts.
maybe.
That's the hope.
Fingers crossed. After that, there's a Klonoa collection coming. I didn't write down all the details of this. I was making peanut butter on a piece of bread, so I missed that one. But so if you have anything you want to add, any spice you want to add to this one,
Like Klonoa was games that came out on the PlayStation 1. There was apparently a game that came out on the Wii that I was completely unaware of. I really enjoyed the PlayStation 1 Klonoa's. The fact that it's coming back, it's such like an obscure title. I think
yeah,
it's really cool. I don't know if it'll be a day one pickup for me, but it
sure,
will be a game that I won't mind jumping into at some point
yeah.
when it's a little slower.
I tell you what is going to be a day one pickup for me was the
Oh
next
yeah.
collection announcement, which is Portal Companion Collection, which is going to be Portal 1 and 2 coming to Switch later this year. Didn't give us a date. Hopefully it does end up coming this year, but I have been actually like, I have it on my Xbox. There have been multiple times that I've considered starting over with Portal 1 and going through Portal 2, but then like a new game comes out and I just haven't done it. So I've been itching for a reason to replay Portal. So this one got me really excited.
Yeah, this is a perfect reason to get into Portal. And if you've never played Portal, you should play Portal.
Yeah.
You should play Portal.
Incredible video games. After this was something that you're very excited about. I actually don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Live Alive?
Mm-hmm.
Got
It's
it.
Live Alive.
Tell us about it.
So Live Alive was a series that came out on the Super Famicom, and it was never released outside of Japan. However, there's a huge following for the game, and they did like fan localization, like this big group that does like localizations. They did one, and it's got a huge following. You can play it on emulators on PC. So this is the first time we're actually getting a legitimate version in the US. I've never been able to play it, but I've followed the history behind it, and it's such like an interesting game. Like it has so many elements of Octopath Traveler. It's a JRPG of sorts, but it's got like tactical RPG elements. It's got like there's like 8 stories happening at once, all in different periods of time that you can flip in and out of, and each of the stories has like a unique gameplay element to it. So, like in some, you'll have like fighting game mechanics, and some you'll have stealth mechanics, and it's so weird. Like it's a very, very interesting and wild game. We just never got here, so now we are, and like
This sounds
that's
awesome.
it's fucking really cool. And
Yeah.
like the 8-bit art style is gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm excited to try that out. I'd never heard of it, and now I'm anxiously awaiting it. It's coming July 22nd, so we don't have to wait too long. After that, this was another huge one for me. Nintendo Switch Sports. It's like Wii Sports, but
Oh
Nintendo
boy.
Switch Sports. So far, it's launching very soon as well, April 29th. And on in just a couple weekends, February 18th through the 20th, they're doing like an online play test for free to like, I guess, get their servers prepared to see like the interest level or whatever. But it's going to launch with tennis, bowling, shambara, which is like fighting, soccer, which very much looks like Rocket League, which looks awesome, badminton, and volleyball. It supports both local and online play. And then there's going to be an update in the fall that brings in golf. And I'm assuming they're going to add more sports as we go through.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is going to be almost like a live service type game in that way.
Incredible.
But it looks so fucking good.
If you just told me you were like, hey man, we're going to re-release Wii Sports.
Yeah, that's all I needed.
I would be like, that's all I need. That's all I need. But you're gonna give me a brand new fucking Wii Sports game for the Switch called Switch Sports, which is weird to say, but incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
And
I'm
they're
hype level through the roof at this point.
The roof has been busted. It's broken. It's burning. They also showed this little feature in the soccer one where you can, if you have Ring Fit Adventure, the little like leg strap, you can strap that on so you can kick the ball with your feet instead of your hands. Oh god, it looks so good.
So cool.
So cool. So yeah, anxiously awaiting that one as well. Again, April 29th is when that's coming. After that, this is a game that you're very excited about that I'm excited to try.
Mm,
Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm
yeah.
Festival. Did I say
Oh
that correct?
yeah. You did. You did. Shockingly, you did. Tycho is a game you can actually there's actually if you have an Apple Arcade, there is an Apple Arcade version.
Oh, cool.
Eh, the inputs aren't great, so I'm very excited about the Switch version. But essentially, it's like, what do you remember the Donkey Kong drum game?
You bet your fat ass I do.
It's a rhythm game. So you essentially think like Dance Dance Revolution, except or like Dance Dance Revolution meets uh like Rock Band, but you just get a drum. And so you just play the drum to the beat. But the thing is, it's released by Bandai Namco, and the amount of songs that they include is silly.
Is it just a bunch of
Um,
like video game soundtrack songs?
You get a ton of
Hell
original
yeah.
songs, a ton of video game soundtracks. I know on the Apple Arcade version, you actually have the entire theme song list of every season of Dragon Ball Z,
Cool.
and Dragon Ball GT. You could play all of them, but it's like a rhythm game, and it's just incredibly addictive. The music is so much fun, and it's just really cute. It's very Japanese. And if you like rhythm games, like this is a super fun rhythm game, but it's
Hell yeah.
also just a really addictive game for anyone who wants to play, and it's a really fun game to play with other people. So this is dope.
I'm excited. I'm definitely gonna try. I have like a 3 month trial of Apple Arcade, so I'm gonna go download the Apple Arcade version when we're done recording. Um, After this was a little like an updates section, so they gave a little bit of an update on Triangle Strategy, which is coming out
Ooh,
very soon.
ooh, ooh,
Which I know
ooh.
you're itching for. I'm excited to play it. Might not be a day one for me, only because of the sheer amount of games coming out. But that
That
game,
game
it
is
looks so
goddamn
good,
gorgeous.
so
Oh,
gorgeous. Yeah.
jeez.
When I do play it, I cannot wait to play that on my Switch OLED because it's so pretty. We got a little bit of an update on Cuphead: The Delicious Last Course, which is coming out on June 30th. We got a Metroid Dread update, which actually might be a reason for me to jump back in. Not for the first update, which is if they're doing a one-hit kill mode. Fuck
Mm.
that. They're doing a rookie
Oh,
mode, which makes the game easier, and I would love for that game to be easier. And then in April, they're doing a boss rush mode
I
as
think
well.
both maybe not the one hit kill mode. I don't There's obviously some diehards out there like speedrunners and shit who are going to play that mode, and it's
Right.
going to be really cool to watch. But I do think adding a rookie mode, because the game is notoriously difficult,
Yeah.
is absolutely key. I think it'll move units
I think so
just
too.
with that mode alone. So I think that's really good. It's a smart
Yeah.
move on their part.
Yeah. And then another huge one after it could have been bigger, but I will take just lowercase b big. Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings come to Nintendo Switch today, or if you're listening on the day of release, yesterday. This is one that's been rumored for a really long time. People have been itching to bring Earthbound to Switch, and
Mm,
finally fucking happened.
that's awesome. Earthbound, incredible.
A game I've never played, so I'm so
Whoa.
excited to play
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
I'm curious what the mileage will go for you,
Yeah.
because the game's awesome. I love the game. It's
Yeah.
really weird. It's got like just a lot of heart to it,
Hell
and
yeah.
it's something incredibly unique. There's actually like a really cool story about how they still can't figure out. There's like an NPC that will follow you anywhere on the map, but the way that it follows you, they still can't figure out how it does it. They've never
Weird.
been able to go into the code to figure out and break down how it's this like mysterious code that someone wrote that no one has any clue how it works.
That's
Which is
funny.
just really funny about this, just like a little trivia about it. But Earthbound is cool. It's an RPG, but it's a weird RPG. I don't even think I could try even to explain it to give it justice. Just your mileage may vary. I'll say that,
Okay.
but give it a shot. It's Switch Online, so there's no
Right.
reason why you shouldn't
For sure.
jump in. If you got Switch Online, give it a shot. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Whatever. If you do like it, good. You're part of the right crowd.
Hey, I'm excited. I have a feeling that I will like it. What I meant by it could have been bigger is people have also for a very long time wanted Mother 3 to come
Yeah.
to the States as well.
That's what
Um,
when it popped up and it said Earthbound, I was like, "Oh fuck, they're finally bringing
yeah.
Mother 3." So, to a little explanation for the audience if you don't know Earthbound. Earthbound is the English translation or the English name. The Japanese name is Mother. So you have Mother 1, 2, 3. In the States, we have actually never gotten Mother 3. So, we people have been begging
Yeah.
for
It's going to
decades.
happen.
It'll who knows? It'll be like fucking Half-Life 3, which I think everyone's given up on.
Sure.
That shit's never coming.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was about to say, I feel like at this point, everything we want will happen at some point, but I don't think we'll ever get Half-Life 3.
No, we'll never get Half-Life 3.
Yeah. After that, bit of a slump. They did a montage of Zombie Army 4, Getsu Fumaden, Undying Moon, a Demon Slayer game, a game called Lego Brawls, and a game called 2 Point Campus. They didn't give like any sort of context on any of these, other than, you know, some, I don't know if they're re-releases. I don't know if they're just ports, but none of them really grabbed my attention. And then there were two other big announcements. We're getting basically Mario Kart 8 is being doubled, and we're getting 48 new courses over the course of the next several months. It's going to be in what's called a booster course pass. So it'll cost money, or if you're part of the Nintendo Switch expansion online plus whatever the fuck it's called, it'll be included in that. It's going to be in 6 different waves with 8 courses in each wave for a total of 48 courses, which will essentially double the amount of courses on Mario Kart 8. To which I say, I tweeted before we went live, I didn't think that when they said Mario Kart 9 was coming with a new twist, what they meant was the new twist is that it's actually still Mario Kart 8 and we're just doubling it in size. But it's basically like every course we don't have from the old games is coming to Mario Kart 8, which I'm
my prediction, I think I mentioned this in the prediction show, was that we wouldn't see Mario Kart 9 for a while. And then we did the episode about Mario Kart's actually going to be nude in Mario Kart 9. And in that episode, I said, I still don't think we're actually going to see this for a very long time. And the truth of the matter is, I was correct again. I don't know when we're going to see Mario Kart 9, but I couldn't imagine that it's going to be coming anytime before 2023. That's why I genuinely think it will be, because I don't think the Switch is going to end in 2023. I think 2024, 2025 is when we might see Mario Kart. But 48 new tracks. There's one thing that I am a little bit bummed, and there could be a chance that this could change. I feel like with them doing this, like huge 48 new courses that are completely built back up from the ground up for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. One thing they didn't mention any new karts. They didn't mention any new racers. That's a little bit of a bummer. There's some really good, racers that aren't in Deluxe. I mean, we got all of Bowser's Kids, which was honestly not good. Like, no one gives a shit about them. We could have easily had Diddy Kong. We could have had Robo. We could have had, I think we finally got Dry Bones Bowser, right?
We did.
So we've gotten some of them, but like, there's still more Mario Kart racers you could add. There's still more characters. You could Smash Bros it.
Sure.
You're giving us 48 courses. You could give us a Smash Bros style game where you give us things like Fire Emblem characters. You can give us Kirby. You can give us Sonic. Hell, put fucking Solid Snake in there.
Sure.
That'd be cool. Courses are great. And I think it breathes, new life into a game that is still selling really well. But, I don't just actively look and be like, I really want to play some Mario Kart right now. Like, this gives me the want to get back in. And the fact they're doing it in waves, I think, is another really smart move, because it's going to keep bringing me back in every time a new wave comes.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I do want to clarify. I'm looking at the official predictions. It wasn't officially one of your predictions about Mario Kart. However, one of my predictions, I think, is definitely not going to be happening, which is that Super Mario Odyssey's remake or sequel will be announced and come out this year. I feel like the window for announcement was pretty short there for it to still come out this year. And it didn't happen at this direct. So we'll see. But yeah, I think I love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I couldn't stop playing it for months when I got my Switch. And so I'm thrilled for a reason to jump back in. But yeah, I do feel like this means we will not be seeing Mario Kart 9 for at least 2 to 3 years.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah, if not more than that. Probably, I think maybe you're when we talked about Mario Kart 9, I think you might have said it'll probably just launch with the next Switch, like whenever the new console comes out, which I think makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I think so. It definitely looks like it's lining up. And who knows, Mario Kart 9, that could be the twist, is that it will be like instead of it being called like Mario Kart 9, it could be called like Mario Kart Ultimate, like Smash did. And you get every
Cloud, and
single
you get
and you get all of these, new racers are going to be brought in. You're going to
that'd
get
be
every
dope.
single track is going to be coming back.
I love that idea.
That would be pretty dope. I would be in it.
Yeah.
What's up next?
This was the last piece of the direct, which I'm interested to get your thoughts on because I've never played this franchise, but you seemed excited by it.
Oh yeah,
Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and it's
hell
coming
yeah.
September of this year. So was this was this revealing the game, or had we seen 3 already?
We had rumors that 3 was going to be coming out. This is the first time we've seen it, and we got a release date, which is also incredible.
Yeah.
Xenoblade Chronicles is kind of a mixture of imagine like Monster Hunter meets meets an RPG. It's not really JRPG, it's not turn-based, but it's like an action RPG. So
Okay.
it's huge sprawling open worlds with all sorts of really cool creatures, like a very Final Fantasy style story that goes with it. The games are super long, like they're meaty. So you're looking at, a 60+ hour adventure.
What's the
And like
story
a
like?
huge. So story is like it's
good?
really hard. Yeah, it's good. They're
Okay.
convoluted. They're very Final Fantasy. Just imagine
it.
like
Okay.
fantasy world. It's a fantasy RPG, but it's an action RPG with huge monsters, huge battles, a lot of like really cool aspects to it. I want to say Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out on the Wii U, and that was like really one of the only. I mean, honestly, like Breath of the Wild came out on the Wii U too, so there's that.
Sure.
But this was like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was awesome, and it was a great game. People loved it, and because it came out on the Wii U, there was a lot of worry that might hold back the series from getting another launch. But hell yeah, we're getting it, and it's coming in September.
I know there's a definitive edition on Switch. Do you know, is the definitive edition 1 and 2, or is it just 1?
It might be 1 and 2. It might just be 2.
Okay. I was just curious because it's, time willing, I'd maybe like to go back and revisit those games on Switch if possible. So cool. I'll look it up offline. I was just curious if you knew. So that was the direct. I don't think it was the best thing we've ever seen, but it was pretty fucking great. I was very.
I know pleased. We had mentioned like there notable games like Breath of the Wild 2 didn't make it. Wind Waker remake port that apparently is coming didn't make it. No news on any new Mario games that are like flagship title Mario games, obviously not Mario Strikers. I'm not worried yet about any of that. And the reason I say that is because I have this sneaking suspicion that when they do mention any of the 3, it will be its own direct.
Interesting.
And so I do think that we'll see them this year, but I don't think because you got to think like this was a huge, like massive direct. Like we normally don't see directs like this from Nintendo.
Yeah.
This is a huge one though. And so I feel like if they're going to, like, why squeeze in Breath of the Wild 2, which is like honestly the biggest game Nintendo could announce, like could say anything on, like doing it in this, I think would take away from some of the other really big announcements. Because it would just get washed out with Breath of the Wild 2 specifically, or any new Mario news. So I think that we will see more of that this year. I just think they'll be standalone directs, not.
I think that's a good instinct, especially for Breath of the Wild and Odyssey. I don't know that the port would warrant its own, but I could see that being wrapped into one of the other 2 as like just some supplemental content type thing. That's that's the Nintendo Direct. Let us know what games you're excited for. I know a couple of those games on the list. I already know some of our listeners are excited about, but let us know what ones you're excited about. Well, Cayman, I want to tell you and our audience about how much of a goddamn delight Sifu is.
Tell me. I'm excited to hear your
Yeah.
preview or semi review or
Yeah,
review.
in terms of just like some context, I would say probably like 60% of the way through this game at the moment. So the way that the game is built, there's like essentially 5 levels. Um and I'm at the very end of the 3rd level. So, depending on how big levels 4 and 5 are, I roughly guess I'm about 60% of the way in. But man, this game is so good. Like I was expecting it to be good, but it is in some ways really blown me away. In other ways, it has unfortunately some of the things I was afraid of came true, mostly around difficulty.
Mm, mm,
Um, but for those of you who don't know what Sifu is, the way it works, you play as a character who is ultimately seeking revenge on these 5 parties that were responsible for the death of someone important to you. I don't want to spoil too much of the story, although that happens in the first like 10 minutes of the game. So essentially, what you're doing is each of the levels are one of those parties that was responsible for it. So you're working your way through this level by fighting a bunch of goons to ultimately get sweet revenge on the boss at the end of the level. But the twist is every time that you die in the game, you get older. And there's a really interesting mechanic called the death counter, which so you start out at 20, and the first time you die, you're 21. And then the second time you die, you're 23. And then the third time you die, you're 27. So each time, the first time you die, you go up by 1 year, then 2 years, then 3 years, then 4 years, then 5 years, etc. And ultimately, whenever you get to the age of 70 and die, it's game over. You have to start over. But there are a lot of mechanics built in and systems built in. Like you don't have to completely start the game over from scratch. It's in that way. It has a lot of roguelite elements
mm-hmm.
where
Sure.
each of like once you finish the first level, essentially, depending on what age you were when you finish that level, when you start level 2, you're always going to be that age. So like as an example, I finished level 1 at age 54. So then level 2, I start at age 54. But obviously, like at the age of 54, I don't have a lot of room until I'm in my 70s and I'm going to die. So, one of the things that I think makes this game work so well is that um, it really wants you to replay levels, and it's really rewarding to do so. Like, so as this exact example, I am now like my starting age at level 2 is now actually 27 because I went back and I was able to only get 7 years older through the first level as opposed to
Mm,
34 years older the first time I beat it. And in doing so, there are new ways, like new things you can unlock. Um, it has a really cool system where you with the XP that you gain from fighting enemies, you can unlock certain moves. You can unlock certain like not powers, but like essences about your character that make you stronger. But whenever you get game over, most of those reset. But again, like this is because one of my worries with the game was sometimes roguelites can be very punishing in that you lose
mm,
all of your progress, but they're so smart in the way that they build certain systems where similar to Deathloop, you can lock certain things to stay from run to run. It works a little bit differently like it does in Deathloop. But certain powers that you unlock, if you unlock them a certain amount of times, essentially, you can have that power forever. You don't have to unlock it anymore. And so as you kind of build up these powers, you start becoming more powerful, and being able to go through previous levels is a lot easier because now at a base level, you're just a more powerful character. So like the systems just really, really work for me. But something that I haven't talked at all about yet is the combat. So I do want to talk about the combat.
mm,
And then I want to stop and see if you have any questions since I've been rambling. But this is basically a fighting game in the body of a brawler.
okay.
So in each of the levels, like I was kind of under the impression at first because I hadn't played a game like this before. Like, oh, I'm just gonna run in. It'll be like Batman Arkham. I'm just gonna run in and I'm just gonna beat up everybody, and then I'll just move on. But it is very much you win by playing defense. You don't win by playing offense. So, and I think that's going to not work for a lot of people. The combat in the game, it has like 3 main systems, which is attacking. And like in a fighting game, you can do a
Mm-hmm.
light attack or a heavy attack. and then there's like special attacks as well. The second mechanic is parrying, which I know can be a loaded word in games because a lot of
Sure.
like parrying is a very divisive game mechanic. Um, Parrying is the hardest part of this game, and it is the part that I think is going to give the people the most frustration. It is the
Mhm.
thing that has been most frustrating for me so far is parrying.
Gotcha.
But the third mechanic actually kind of you can use it in lieu of parrying. You just don't get as much of a reward as you do for parrying, which is it's like a dodging or an avoiding system where if you hold L1, you can like if someone's attacking you with a high attack, you can like press up and you'll like dodge the high attack.
Mm.
Or if they like go for a leg sweep, you're holding L1, you press down, you lift your leg up and avoid the leg sweep. So if you can kind of figure out like, okay, this character, this is a woman with a long braid, she's going to be real heavy on the leg sweeps. So part of it is, you know, learning what these like character types are and how they fight so that when you go into a room of 25 people eventually you can kind of see, okay, like that group, I know how I'm going to be able to fight them, I know I'm going to be able to fight them. But it's almost like Assassin's Creed 1 in that you just wait for people to come to you. Like
Yeah.
but the combat is actually a lot more fun than Assassin's Creed 1. But
That's good to hear.
yeah, it is very much a like, okay, I'm just going to chill in the middle of this group and wait to see who comes at me. And then as they do, I'll build up like my meter so I can get a finishing move in, get some health back, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. But yeah, I know I was kind of all over the place there. I haven't talked to anyone about this game, so I've just like kind of word vomit the things that I'm really liking about this game. But any questions so far? Any thoughts? Anything you want me to expand on?
So some things that I've been reading and hearing. There's been a lot of comparisons to Deathloop.
Sure.
A lot of comparisons to roguelikes.
Yeah.
A lot of comparisons to Dark Souls.
Yes.
Um, while you've been playing it,
Uh huh.
and I know you touched on the difficulty, it being a very tough game. Do you feel like which game do you think that it leans more into in terms
Sure.
of like the punishment of the game itself?
It is somewhere between Deathloop and Dark Souls.
Okay,
It is definitely not anywhere near as hard in certain aspects as like Bloodborne or Dark Souls or Demon Souls.
sure.
Um, the part that I will say, like the boss that I'm on, the third boss, it is the first time so far that I'm actively not having a fun time because of how hard the
Ooh,
boss is.
okay,
Um, this I think this boss, I would be willing to bet this boss just you really have to figure out the parry for this boss or
sure.
like and I just haven't figured it out yet. And you know, thankfully with this specific level, you can once you get to the boss, you can immediately get right back to the boss. It's not like that with every level, which I think some people
Mhm.
might be frustrated by. Um, but it is, I would say, yeah, it's somewhere in between. The things that I would say are similar with Deathloop is that kind of mechanic I mentioned about how you can like save powers from one run to the next, and
Sure.
also the way it kind of the way it reveals its story. There's similar to Deathloop where you had the like the leads board where you can kind of track each of the missions and the objectives and the characters and kind of those leads. There is what they call the board in Sifu, where it's kind of like where you're piecing together the puzzle of like
Mhm.
how all of these people are connected. And there like there's a cool thing where you can get collectibles in certain levels that are like keys to other
Mhm.
levels. So like maybe there's a door I can't open in level 1 until I get through level 3 and get a key from the person in level 3. So now I can go back to level 1, go through that door and see what's back there. Maybe it's a reward, maybe it's just another piece of story. Kind of it can be kind of any of that. So that's I think that's where it is like Deathloop. Um and then I guess also it is similar to Deathloop in that when you die, it's not game over. You
Yeah.
have as many as like 15 deaths in a run, depending on the death counter. Um, the combat itself is very, very similar to Bloodborne specifically,
Okay.
in
So
that
faster paced.
faster paced and you in this game, I don't remember what it's called in Bloodborne, but in this game, it's called structure. It's in Sekiro as well. It is like a bar that is below their health bar that you kind of whittle away at by dodging, by avoiding, by parrying. And if you get that bar all the way down, they are they kind of like get dazed or whatever. And so you can get in and get like a really powerful combo or a really powerful like blow to them essentially. So sometimes, especially with like elite enemies, you can't touch their health bar until you get their structure all the way down, and then you can go
Mhm.
in and do like a devastating combo kind of thing.
So it almost
Um
seems like, almost like the system that they used in Sekiro,
yeah.
Shadows Die Twice.
Hmm.
Okay,
It's
that makes
very
sense.
similar to that and Bloodborne as well. I would even say, yeah, I think it's a little more Sekiro than Bloodborne in that way.
Mhm.
But because Bloodborne was very much like if you can parry at the right time, you can get a big chunk of their health off.
Yeah. Oh, for
With
sure.
with this, yeah, it's a little more Sekiro where you got to get that structure bar down to really take off health. And not with
Yeah,
every enemy. Some enemies they'll go down in one hit. And that's
sure.
kind of one thing that I really like about this game is that not all enemies are created equally. Not that, in a lot of games like that's true, but I feel like sometimes with the Bloodborne and the Sekiro type games, it does feel like all enemies are equally as tough as each other. And
Yeah.
so the barrier to entry can be super, super high because of that. But yeah, and something that I actually haven't even mentioned, this game is so beautiful.
Yeah, it does
the
look
the
the
visuals of
art
this
style is
game, oh my
incredible.
god, dude, like it's not a realistic art style at all. It's almost like polygonal in
Mhm.
ways. But yeah, it's this very like watercolory. Each level has its own like vocabulary of color and like style, and it's just like there's one of the levels, I won't spoil like what it is, but going through it, like if any of our listeners like doing photo mode in games, Sifu is a photo mode buffet because there are certain levels, like every turn is like an art piece. It's just so, so pretty. And they're they also they lean on their art style in certain combat encounters too. Like some of the boss fights, like the art style completely changes,
Mm.
and it's just really cool. Like whoever is the art director of this game deserves a raise because the art in this game is so breathtaking.
So the
Um,
developer, Slow Clap,
uh-huh.
their first game they released was called Absolver. It has a very similar visual aesthetic to it.
Yeah,
Uh, Absolver
haven't played
didn't
Absolver.
get fantastic reviews. It kinda came in at, like, a 6 to 7 range.
Hmm.
It seems like with Sifu, from what I've read and from what I've seen, is that they've taken the elements that worked well with Absolver, because Absolver was similar in, like, the combat area, like, it was
Yeah,
all about combat, and when you would defeat enemies, you could learn new combat moves and things like that. So it seems like the developer has just picked up on all of the successful aspects of
yeah,
Absolver and then is built on that. And they've, really defined the look and the feel. And that's awesome. Like, I think that
yeah.
that's great. Like, I think Absolver had like some really big ideas that just kind of fell short because it was their
Sure.
first game. They were trying a lot. Like, Absolver was a huge game. It's like open world MMO kind of style. It sounds like they've really pulled it together with Sifu. Now,
Yeah,
ask you this for the audience, for those who have listened to your review who are interested. What platform is the game on, and how
sure.
much are you looking at spending?
$40 is the retail
Okay.
price. There's like a digital deluxe edition that I think is 50. I got that one only because it gave you early access to the game. So I don't remember what the benefit would be of getting the deluxe edition now that it's
Mhm.
already out. But I'm playing on PS5. It's definitely also on PS4. It might be a PlayStation exclusive. Let me see. It's also on PC, but it is not on Xbox or Switch.
Okay.
Um, I would be willing to bet this game runs pretty well on PS4,
Okay.
probably very well on PS4 Pro. It is silky smooth on PS5. I haven't had a single issue, like no bugs, no hitching, no nothing. So I've been really impressed with that, especially playing like technically an early release of it because I started playing on
Mhm.
Saturday. It just came out on Tuesday. I was surprised at how it's performing really, really well.
That's awesome.
Um, I do hope that they patch in similar to what Metroid Dread just did. I hope they can patch in something that could make some of the combat a little less difficult
Mhm.
because I think this game is really special and I think it can very easily be a complete turnoff with the difficulty. If
Sure.
like if it if the battling system doesn't gel with you up front, if like the dodging and avoiding and the parrying just doesn't click for you, this game is not going to be fun.
Mhm.
Because the fun in this game is when you can start understanding how those systems work and you're successful at it, it really feels like you're playing like a martial arts movie as a video game. Like there's this one scene that really reminded me of one of my favorite scenes in any movie, which is the hallway scene in Old Boy.
Oh, yeah.
And and like it felt like that because I happened to have like a thread of combos and I was dodging correctly. And so like when it works, it fucking sings. But like like I said, the boss that I'm on right now, I've started watching YouTube videos on how to beat it because it's starting to really like frustrate me
Mm,
how difficult it like all of a sudden I feel like the difficulty ramped up by like 11.
sure.
Um so but yeah, ultimately like Skylar, Brown, I'm sure he's gonna love this game. Like that, knowing how much he loved Returnal, like because this game is difficult.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know that you would like this game because I know you don't gel with the like parrying type systems,
Sure.
but I would be interested to see what you think. Whenever like it drops in price a little bit more for you, just because I think there is a strong possibility you don't like this game because of that specifically.
And that's
Um,
probably fair. I mean, I'm
yeah,
normally when I get to a situation like you're in right now where it's like I've fought this boss 15 times and I've died every single time, that's normally when I turn a game off.
yeah, yeah.
I don't have time to just to grind through and get good.
For
Get
sure.
good.
I will say that like I'm liking it so much and I want to see what's next. Like I just want to see what the fourth level is. Like because the environments are so different from each other. If nothing else, I just want to see what level 4 and 5 look like because it's
Mhm.
like it's that visually striking. One other thing I do want to quickly mention and then we can move on. There's a game mechanic that I didn't mention that I think is really important that helps with difficulty. Um, that thing, this is something that I just happened to read in a tweet. So like it doesn't really tell you this in the game. So I do want to mention it in case anyone is afraid of the difficulty in that way. The thing I mentioned, the system death counter, where whenever you die, it adds another year to your age. So like the first time you die, 1 year, second time you die, 2 years, and so forth. There are enemies, there's like elite enemies that when you kill them, it actually drops your death counter by 1. So if my death counter is at 5, but I get through a segment and I kill like 4 of those enemies, now my death counter is actually at 1. They don't come up all that often, but they come up often enough that in runs where you're doing well, you can really make up some ground on your death counter. But then
Mhm.
there's also a mechanic. It's a version of a collectible. It's called a totem. They happen, 3 or 4 times in a level, and it's essentially like a skill tree.
Mhm.
But it's not like a skill, it's like an upgrade to the person, like to your character.
Sure.
So you're not learning a new move, and one of the things is you can spend 1,000 XP points to reset your death counter to 0. So it's really helpful, especially like if you're going into a boss fight and you're already in your 40s, but your death counter's at 6. I'll spend 1,000 of my XP, which is probably going to empty out my XP of what I've gained so far. But that way, I can now go into this boss fight and I'll have a lot of wiggle room at first because my death counter is now back at 0.
Gotcha.
So that it's one of my favorite mechanics because it's making the game seem a lot more accessible, even though it's still at times very frustrating.
Right on, right on.
Yeah,
Well, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad that you've at least been enjoying it.
yeah, for sure.
And for the viewers who or listeners who want to play the game, like Patrick said, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Windows, and $40, nice little budget title right
Yeah,
before. If you're in between, if you didn't pick up Dying Light 2, or if you're, waiting on pins and needles like I am for Horizon,
God, I
um,
can't wait.
this might be a perfect game to pick up to give a shot.
Yeah, I think so. I hope. Yeah, if you do pick it up, let me know what you think because I'm interested to see what other folks are thinking. Cayman, we're right at an hour. Do we want to go through a quick review roundup of Dying Light 2?
Ah, sure, let's do it.
Cool. Do you have the doc pulled up?
I do indeed.
Do you want to hit us off with the first one from IGN? I didn't write down who wrote the review. I'll pull that up while you read it if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Dying Light 2, we have a bit of a review roundup. This comes from IGN. IGN gave it a 7 saying, another in a long series of big, ambitious video games whose potential greatness is visible just beneath a grimy layer of bugs. Dying Light 2 Stay Human could very likely become the stellar zombie survival adventure it's meant to be someday. For now, though, it's best added to your backlog unless your irritation with crashes and technical issues is outweighed by eagerness to dance across rooftops with its excellent parkour, which, when everything works, is an unforgettable way to explore the last city's open world and join in the post apocalyptic stories of its many weird and distinctive characters. No patch can fix the forgettable main plot or the protagonist. I couldn't pick out of a police lineup even after 80 hours in his shoes. But Dying Light 2's streets tell their own stories, and this comes from reviewer Travis Northrup. I do want to point out that reviewers got a pre-patch code. They just recently released a patch that fixed over 1,000 bugs.
Yeah.
So
It's a
just
shame,
want to,
man.
yeah. GameSpot's Mark Delaney gave it a 6 as well. The good was parkour abilities are expansive and exciting, and the other is music impressively follows your every step. However, the bad, the story is a drag, including a bad final boss and rough voice acting throughout. Bugs hamper some open world activities. Combat versus humans often feels repetitive, and stealth elements feel incomplete. I do once again want to point out that they were playing a copy of the game that
Yeah.
had apparently loads and loads and loads of bugs. Those bugs have been fixed.
Yeah.
I've been watching reviews of people playing it now, post patch, and
Yeah.
apparently majority of the issues that came up with the bugs that have completely ruined review scores for the game, those have been fixed. So if you are interested in playing the game, those issues where it's like massive game crashing or huge glitches that could prevent story elements from continuing, those have been fixed. There are issues.
Right.
From what I've read, everyone has said the same thing, that the story itself is not engaging, not very fun. However, it's kind of a consensus that the actual point to point gameplay has been incredibly fun. And that, look, that's an issue. And that's when we were doing the fantasy games, was that I said my hope when I chose it as my my number two pick, was that those would, that the game would release without the bugs.
Right.
Um, Cyberpunk has been mentioned, which from what I've seen from a lot of reviewers, they said that the whole Cyberpunk relation there is clickbait. This game is nowhere near as bad in terms of playability as Cyberpunk was. Um, the and then a lot of people are also saying that take a lot of what the early reviews with a grain of salt because of those issues. Now,
Yeah.
sure, you can't fix that. You can't fix a story with patches, but I do feel like that this game, like other games like Skyrim or Fallout 4, they're huge, ambitious games, and when they release, unfortunately, games of this size, the way when you're playing it, people are going to break it in ways the QA testers didn't break it
Right.
before.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that happens. But Techland, the developer of Dying Light 2, has been very forthcoming about, their disappointment that the game launched with bugs, but they have been fixing them. And from what I've read, apparently it's a good game.
Yeah.
It's one that I will be picking up sometime down the road. I really enjoyed the first Dying Light, but the first Dying Light launched with the same issues. It launched with issues with bugs, and they patched in other elements to fix those. So I foresee that this game will have a more positive reception later, but it is disappointing.
Yeah.
Because they've been working on this game for a long time, and you can only imagine being in the developer shoes who play the
Yeah.
game and are like, man, like we've put our heart and soul in this game for the last 7 years. This sucks, and so that's a bummer, and I feel bad for the guys at Techland who you know are getting their game kind of shit on a little bit,
Yeah, me too, man. Because yeah, like
but
to your point, Dying Light 1 was so good, and I'm willing to bet I mean, it could be as short as 2 months that if this game was reviewed in 2 months, it would probably be at least 10 points higher on Metacritic.
yeah.
But That's the nature of the business, I guess. If it launches broken, that's when the reviews come out, is when they launch. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, but it is heartening to hear, or encouraging to hear, that at the heart of this is a really rock solid video game. So yeah, like you, I'm definitely going to be picking this up at some point down the road. I just won't be running out to get it
Yeah.
immediately. But I will. But hey, it got you a solid 7 points on the Fantasy Critic League.
I will
Which,
say to any of our listeners or viewers, if you have played Dying Light 2 and you have hands-on experience, whether it be horrible bugs or a lot of fun jumping from rooftop to rooftop, let us know in the
yeah,
comments or send us a message on Twitter or Instagram and put in our DMs and let us know what you think about Dying Light 2. We'd love to hear
yeah.
if you've been enjoying it or if you've had the same issues that some of these reviewers have had with your game being absolute garbage.
Classic. But hey, I was afraid, like, once I saw how buggy it apparently was for reviewers, I was like, oh man, I hope this doesn't just tank its review scores, which I don't think it tanked it. 7 is still not bad. 77 on Metacritic, but or OpenCritic rather. Because yeah, Sifu only is a 79 on OpenCritic, and that's getting like 9s and 10s places.
Yeah.
But I guess there were just enough reviews that were low enough that it dropped it all the way down to a 79.
Very well could be.
Very well could be. Very last, just a quick thing. It's, I mean, not necessarily something to talk about as much. Just wanted to let the audience know The Wolf Among Us, if that was a game you played a few years ago or several years ago at this point from Telltale. They announced today the release window for The Wolf Among Us 2, which is going to be next year, 2023. I'm very excited for that. That was one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Telltale games. So I'm excited. Once we're done here, I'm going to go watch. They had like a stream earlier about talking about the game that I didn't get.
Very excited. I
But
absolutely love Wolf Among Us.
me
And
too.
I honestly, when Telltale shut down, didn't think we'd ever get another one. So
Same.
here we are.
Here we are.
Another. This has been a day of delights.
A day of delights indeed. Well, I hope this episode of the Spotlight Games podcast gave you a day of delights, because that is our show, folks. Thanks for listening. If you watched it on YouTube, thanks for watching. If you didn't watch it on YouTube, why don't you get your tushy over there and give us a subscribe, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a ring of that bell.
Slap that bell.
Slap that bell. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Patrick Schwag. You can follow Cayman. I'm pointing on screen. Cayman on Twitter at Kid Cayman. You can follow the pod on Twitter at Spot Games Pod, or on Instagram at Spotlight Games Podcast. And don't forget, because I sure didn't, Save Trash Cinema, the premier trashy cinema or trash cinema, excuse me, podcast based out of Atlanta it's killing it out there, folks. So go join the party, subscribe. It's not on YouTube, but it is on podcast services. So give us a subscription. Listen to the newest episode. Go ahead, Cayman.
Follow us on Twitter or Instagram. We're at Save Trash Cinema. We post updates on the movies that we're doing that week. So if you want to catch up beforehand, you can do that there. Or you can write into us and tell us movies that you think you want us to watch. If you have some beautiful, classy, trash exploitation films from your own library that you want us to do reviews of and dissections of, we'd be more than likely. We'd like to jump on those and have a great time with you as well. But you can find us there. And we have big news coming up in the next couple of weeks over some new plans we have in the works for Save Trash Cinema. So
keep it
locked. It's all roses over here, baby.
I do want to end with a quick question of the audience. If you're still listening, if you've made it this far, let us know if there is something you want to see from our podcast, from our show. If there's something that you obviously, if you like what we're doing, we can just keep doing it. But if there's something that you would like us to do more of, or something that you would like us to do differently, let us know. We're still a young podcast, so we want your feedback is what's going to make our show the best it can be. So let us know what you think. Well, Cayman, thank you for coming along the ride with me. Today was a banger. I think this episode was a banger. I'm going to get to editing and eating some dinner, so I will catch you on the flip flop. But to our audience, I love you. Thank you. Good night.
Love you guys.